Now, something I always think is all of the things that we either like or don't like, they're pretty subjective things. They're all basically in the eye of the beholder. And just as an example, the last few projects we worked on, Vlad likes to have a lot of decals on his track bike. And as an example, my bike, I like fewer decals. Now, and just as an example, years and years ago, and this is back in '76, this is my wonderful picture on the cover of a magazine, and I thought that was the coolest paint job in the world, which now probably people throw me out of the club for doing that. And my dad, he just liked to drive through brick walls and firewalls and stuff. Now, each one of us has something we like, something we don't like, something we think is hokey, something we think is pretty cool. Here's an example is when I did the paint job styling on this bike, and I'm going to go into this in detail in this video because believe me, it's all subjective. Another example is something that's subjective. A lot of people don't like the Kenny Roberts replica paint job. Well, some people do. This is my original Water Buffalo. Some people like that paint job, some people don't. And when I did some of these West Cooley replicas for Frank and myself years ago, well, here's my the original paint job from the 70s that I thought was the coolest paint job in the world at the time. Well, I guess there's a lesson to all this. The lesson is every one of us likes something different. It's all subjective. Now, just as an example of things, there's always somebody, whenever we ride this bike and people check it out, there's always people that say, the bike looks great except for those gold wheels. I don't like those gold wheels. Why don't you paint them black? Then there's always people, and it's uncanny how this is. They'll be in the garage and they'll see the gold wheels and go, wow, those gold wheels will look great on this bike. Well, we have gone through this for many, many years. We're not the new kid at the rodeo. Just the other day, I put the green wheel on the bike, and I do like it, but I'm sure I'm going to get what I call the peanut gallery comments. But I came out to the garage today, and I had this idea in my mind of something I wanted to do for a long time. Now, what I did in the middle of last summer, I made what I thought was a subjective styling change. See how this black, this part used to be green. And it kind of flows through here, and it has a look that in my way of my great artistic ability, I kind of like it. So I always have the choice because they have two sets of these side covers. I have a green set and a black set. Now, this is the other thing I thought would be a little upgrade. I was sitting out here, and when I put the wheel on and I was taking pictures, this little area around here, if you look at it real close, I thought, maybe just as a styling change, I'll take these off. It's a rainy day. By painting that black, it's going to make this look longer and more tapered. It's going to tie into the fact that this area now will have a dedicated gloss black area, I guess, along with these. And I had thought of, I have an extra set of these too. I had thought of making a set green and a set black. Well, you know, here's the bottom line is, with me especially, now I have two windshields for the bike. One windshield, this bar goes up about 2 more inches, and when I looked at it from a lot of different angles, I didn't like it. Some people did like it. Karen liked it. She said she liked the other one better. And I said, okay, when you ride the bike, I'll let you put that one on. When I did the mirrors in gloss black, it just a little changed the look of the bike. But there's 100 little things, and I have, when you have a spare bike, of course, you have this choice. I had originally made this piece green. I didn't like it after I rode the bike a few times. I just thought there was too much green up around here. And so a lot of these little styling cues, they're small. They don't mean much. But the overall look at a motorcycle changes. And in the case of this bike, many things. Polishing the wheels made a dramatic difference over having the... I don't even remember, they were painted or they were just dull aluminum at one time. And the RD, there's a little thing, just like polishing the engine cases, changes the whole look of the bike. The whole look of the bike changes. It's something that's amazing to me. What's very amazing, is how one small little item can change the whole look of the bike. Now I'm hoping, and I'm trying to put this on video today, this normally would be the tail light of the bike. By having the tail light lower, that piece is a defining piece of the bike. Now, in the world of styling, like designing a model airplane paint job or a motorcycle paint job, I always think there's 5 defining things. You can pick 5 things that say, you look at a project and you say, that defines the project. The stripe down the middle of the tank, the stripe down the middle of the windshield where the headlight would be. Those are things that set the bike apart from a stock bike. And they're really not big things. See, one of the things a lot of people don't realize, especially this bike is just a good example, but all the bikes are pretty much the same. There's very few things you change on a bike and they dramatically change the bike. One of them is the paint job. Just a perfect example. RD is pretty much a totally stock bike, yet that paint job changed it from being whatever it was red when I got it, to something totally different. So what I'm going to do, it's a rainy day, I'm going to pull these 2 side covers off, paint that black, see if I like it. If I don't, I have another set of the side covers, of course. And then this is something I'm always doing. I'm always looking at every one of the bikes and saying, what can I do that's easy to do, doesn't cost a lot of money, and makes the bike nicer. Another thought, whenever you're doing these subjective things, is you almost never get it right on the first shot. When I painted the windshield the first time, I got it wrong. When I did the first set of wheels, those silver wheels, I got it wrong. And as I'm doing it over and over and over, I think the bike is getting nicer and nicer and nicer. Another thing, the gold sprocket carrier, in the beginning I painted it black. Well, that was one of those things, after I did it, I said, nah, I don't know if I like it. Another little thing, these little gold anodized screws, Luciano found these on the, and they're aluminum screws, of course. You don't want to use them to hold the handlebars on. But little things like that, they dramatically change the look of a bike for almost no money at all. And that's always been the goal of everything I do, is the little embroidery on the seat when I covered the seat. There's always little things you can do to a motorcycle or to a model plane or to a car. Little things that you get a lot of bang for your buck. And then there's always things you do that cost $1,000 and they don't make any difference at all. So we're looking to try to cherry pick this and get all the little things that'll make the bike just a little nicer, a little more personal, a little different, that'll set out in a crowd. And I think those side covers are the next part of that little evolution. And we'll see when it's done. Hey, the green wheel is a part of the evolution. And the nice thing about everything in the world of paint, if you don't like it, you never sign the marriage agreement. You can always just put it back the way it was. Now here's one little thing you can do to make if you have one of these older motorcycles with press-on side covers like this one, is it has these little, what should you call them, I guess, little tangs that go in to hold it on. Well, what I always do is take 1 drop of wheel bearing grease on the end of a Q-tip and put it in there, put it in all the little slots that it goes in. The reason for that, then when you go to take them off, you don't break these off. And they are, as time goes by, this is a 26, 27-year-old motorcycle, they do get delicate. And in this case, there's only 1 screw holds it on, that pops right off. That can save you from having to do a big repair at some point in the future. Now, it's just a habit of mine. Anytime I take things apart, I put the screws in line of the order that I took it apart and leave out the wrenches, preferably on a nice bright colored rag where you can see the screws. They don't kind of disappear into the black, whatever you want to call this, the black countertop here. Always easier if you put all the stuff on some bright colored object like that. Even though it's a very simple job, no reason at all to make it more difficult. Now I just noticed, anytime I take anything apart, I have a real nice view of it, looking for anything might be scratched. It looks like I picked up a stone chip here or something. You never know what, but I can do this part of it right out in the garage, get any chips, any scratches out of the paint right now. And doing a constantly maintaining it so the parts don't really deteriorate too much as time goes by. Now this is a really simple concept. Anytime you're going to paint something that's already painted and you're going to use some of or all of, this is simple green by the way, the first thing you do is get the whole part clean. The reason is because you're going to be touching it, you'll touch the part that you're going to paint, and then that becomes a problem. So step one, and even though we're only going to paint this little black border, the more I think about this and the more I see it, and having viewed the bike now for several years, that, well, sometimes it looks different. And then in the beginning I say, why didn't I think of that in the beginning? Well, probably because I'm not that smart. But anyway, I've done it for a lot of years that I've made changes along the way. And actually, a good example of it is with the model railroad. I've changed the model railroad several times. And then every time I change it, I say, well, that was worth doing. That was added a little bit of fun to it, or sometimes Miles talks me into it too. But anyway, it's all beside the point. The point is, we know these parts are well waxed. I don't want any wax on here. Step one, a simple green. Step two, I'll go get prep oil. Get that as degreased as I possibly can before I put any sandpaper near it. Now, I always try to mention this to people who might live in areas of the country where you can still buy Sikkens M600. This is a generic clean strip product. I don't think it's as good as what do you call? As Sikkens M600, made by Asco, is the premium degreasing thing in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And this is okay, but boy, if I had a choice, Sikkens M600 used to be available everywhere, and of course our Nancy Pelosi, I think, somebody put the kibosh on it. And now we use dishwater to do the same product, do the same thing. Anyway, once that's good and clean, I'm cleaning the whole part, front and back, because again, I don't want to get fingerprints. And I'll put some new grease on these tabs. I see two of them have already been broken. I think I have fixed them already. The person who had the bike before me, I don't think they fixed anything. When you think of when I got this bike, the condition it was in. I think they rode it until the wheels fell off, and that's exactly what they did. But he's found a happy home here in Rutherford. Okay, so now we're totally degreased. Now this is the type of the vinyl fine line that's great for making a nice crisp edge on new paint. And since this is just a couple things I wanted to show you. You can see that what we have an issue here, and when I put this back together, I'll be sure to either file this down or check what's rubbing here. Something is rubbing here, which you really don't see when you look at the motorcycle, but I'd rather not have it rubbing in the future. So once I have that line, now what I can do is get some tin foil, back mask off the part I'm not going to use, and then I'll be ready to scuff this up with some 1000 grit. Now the tin foil method was shared by the late Walt Prey. He was a professional custom car painter in California. He shared it with us during the years we built models and shared modeling information. A great guy, somebody who gave me a lot of good painting tips. Dealing with the gold leaf, how to do gold leaf, he was really a big help. And of course the biggest one I've used my whole life, the back masking with tin foil. And this is a perfect example of a job that is made very easy, very practical with tin foil, because I can go right up on that 1/8 inch tape, go right around. Not like we're having a race, but again, if we can do it expeditiously, califragilisticexpialidocious. I know all about the day job. Anyway, and the tin foil always seems to do a really good job. And you can pretty much see why. And what I'll do is the other part off camera. And even though it's been raining on and off all day, I'm going to try to get this part get it painted if possible, or we'll just have to wait until it stops raining and do the magic that we do. And I think even a little thing, this is the only part we're going to paint black, that's going to make a big difference. But again, it's subjective, so it doesn't matter. If half the people like it and half don't, it doesn't matter at all. What matters is that you like it. Now, because we only have a small area, this is just ordinary Windex soapy water. We want to just scuff everything just a little bit, just the slightest amount. Because we already know the finish that's on here is bonding real well. So, like, think of it as a sandwich. We only want the next layer to bond to this. The 1000 grit is what, and believe me, I've tried 600, 400, and you can make every one of them work, but 1000 seems to be the best compromise between not having any sanding scratches in the final finish. It just seems like the best choice. And of course, in this choice, of course, we have a rainy day out there. What I'm going to try to do is, I'm just going to wait for it to stop raining. If it doesn't, I'll just have to wait till tomorrow or the next day. And that's what's nice about having a collection of bikes instead of one bike, that if we have to work on this one, it's not a big deal. We just go get another one, take another F-16 out of the Air Force here. But anyway, the 1000 grit is that's all you have to do, is just make it dull. It just can't be shiny. If it's dull, the paint will stick fine. Okay, our parts are ready to paint, but we have a problem. The problem is it's still drizzling out there, and I don't want to take a chance. So what I'm basically going to do, see what'll happen, and this is what's happened to me before. I'd be out there on a day like today, and you can see it's looking like rain all day. And what would happen is, I'd start painting, and I'd turn around, there's a couple of raindrops falling, and by the time I get the camera and the ports back in the cellar, the camera gets wet. And these cameras, the ones I use for this video, they're not waterproof. Well, we hit a spot of about 5 minutes when it wasn't raining out there. And this will have to dry overnight, of course, before we pull off the tape. Some people pull it off as soon as the paint dries. I like to let it sit overnight. And then it'll just be a question of if we like it, if we don't like it. We have plenty of green paint, that's for sure, and plenty of black too. But remember, it's all subjective anyway. It's like a bikini steam wash. Oh, do the wheels. Remy wants that car clean. How about Grandpa's car?